Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Yeshi Chanzong. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Thursday, the 10th of June. Building collapse after heavy rainfall kill at least 11 in India's financial capital, Mumbai. MQM leader accuses Pakistan military for occupying land of Sindhis. And Afghan government and Taliban negotiators meet in Doha to discuss peace. And now for all the details. Rescue work continued on Thursday at the site of a building collapse that occurred in a northern suburb of India's financial capital, Mumbai, late on Wednesday. Incidents of building collapses become more common in Mumbai during the monsoon. Wednesday was the first day of heavy rains in the city.
At least 11 people, including 8 children, died after a 3-story residential building in India's financial capital, Mumbai, collapsed on top of another building late on Wednesday. The incident occurred close to midnight in Malad West, a suburb of Mumbai, officials said, adding that more people could be trapped inside the debris. On Thursday, rescue workers continued to pull out debris in a narrow lane as relatives and onlookers milled about. At least 18 people had been rescued till the last reports came in, and 7 of the injured had been moved to nearby hospitals, police said.
रात को 11:15 11:30 के करीबन ये इंसिडेंट यहाँ हुआ है। एक ग्राउंड+2 की एक इमारत थी, वो जो गिर गई है, वो गिरते समय वो सामने वाली बिल्डिंग पे गिर गई। उसमें कल रात से 18 लोगों को रेस्क्यू किया गया वहाँ से। उसमें से अभी तो सुबह तक 11 लोगों की मौत हो गई है और 7 लोग उसमें के इंजर्ड हैं। उस घटना की पूरी तहकीकात पुलिस करेंगे। जो कुछ भी कानूनी कार्रवाई करनी है वो ज़रूर हम करेंगे।
Building collapses are common in India during the June to September monsoon season when heavy rains weaken the foundation of structures that are poorly built. Wednesday was the first day of heavy monsoon rains in Mumbai, which disrupted normal life as several low-lying areas in the city were left waterlogged.
The total number of COVID-19 fatalities in India's eastern Bihar state took a drastic upward leap of 3,951 in a day after the figures were revised by the State Health Department on Wednesday, lending weight to suspicion that India's overall death tally is significantly more than the official figure.
India's eastern Bihar state has raised its COVID-19 death toll sharply higher after the discovery of thousands of unreported cases, lending weight to suspicion that India's overall death tally is significantly more than the official figure. The Health Department in Bihar, one of India's poorest states, revised its total COVID-19 related death toll to more than 9,429 from about 5,424 on Wednesday, while announcing the audit report of unregistered deaths caused by the infection so far. Overall, India's cases and deaths have fallen steadily in the past weeks after a surge from mid-March. The official total of cases stood at 29.2 million on Thursday after rising by 94,052 in the previous 24 hours, while total fatalities were at 359,676. Meanwhile, India on Wednesday sampled water from Ganges River to detect the possible presence of coronavirus, weeks after floating dead bodies were recovered from it. Images of corpses drifting down the Ganges River had sent shock waves across the nation last month.
शवों को बहाने का कुछ मामला सामने उभर करके आया था, तो इन शवों के डालने से रिवर वाटर के क्वालिटी पर, मतलब गंगा नदी के जल की गुणवत्ता पे कोई असर हुआ है कि नहीं, इसके लिए जांच की जा रही है। विशेष करके सार्स कोविड वायरस की जांच है, तो कि उसका जांच का माने उसके ऊपर वेदर वो पानी में वो वायरस भी है या।
The interim report of the test is awaited. Health experts say they believe both coronavirus infections and deaths are being significantly undercounted across the country, partly because test facilities are rare in rural areas where 2/3 of Indians live and hospitals are few and far between.
Moving on, Pakistan's Mutahida Qawmi Movement founder Altaf Hussain has blamed that Bahariya Town and Defence Housing Authority are being used by Pakistani army to occupy Sindh's land, and for that purpose, Sindhi people are being forcefully evicted. He raised concern that it is an attempt to change the demography in the region, but Sindhis will not leave.
Pakistan's MQM Mutahida Qawmi Movement founder Altaf Hussain has said that Bahariya Town and Defence Housing Authority are new tactical steps of the Pakistan military to occupy Sindh's land, and for that purpose, locals are forced to quit possessions of the land they have had for centuries. Hussain commended the Sindhi people for staging a protest recently against what he termed the tyrannical occupation of Sindh's land by real estate development company Bahariya Town with the help of Pakistani forces, under which he termed as a new scheme of expansion of Punjabi colonies. Reports have suggested indigenous farming communities have been coerced into surrendering lands for the town spanning around 46,000 acres.
अब जहां जहां पंजाब की हुकूमत फौज ने जमीनों पे कब्जा किया हुआ है, एक एक जमीन अब इंशाअल्लाह सिर्फ सिंधी बोलने वाले नहीं, उर्दू बोलने वाले और सिंधी बोलने वाले मिलकर सिंध से इस तमाम कब्जे को छुड़ाकर सिंध को आजाद कराएंगे.
Activists have blamed police and other agencies are intimidating and implicating Sindhis in false cases upon refusing to leave. They have been highlighting the situation across the world, accusing Pakistani state of having clear design to convert Sindhis into a minority in their own historical homeland.
More news from Pakistan. Prominent Pakistani journalist Hamid Mir, who was suspended from his regular program following his hard-hitting remarks against the powerful military for its role in media censorship, has apologized and said he had no intention to defame the army. The army has wielded considerable power in the matters of security and foreign policy over the years. However, it has denied interfering in politics.
Prominent Pakistani journalist, political TV talk show host Hamid Mir, who was suspended from his regular program late last month for making hard-hitting remarks against the country's powerful military establishment, has apologized. In a joint statement issued by a committee formed by the Rawalpindi Islamabad Union of Journalists, the National Press Club and Mir on Tuesday said he had no intention to defame the army and respects it as an institution from the core of his heart. The purpose of my speech was not at all to hurt the feelings and sentiments of others, but still I sincerely apologize if my words lacerated the sentiments of someone, Mir said. Mir, the popular host of political talk show Capital Talk of Geo News channel on May 28, delivered a fiery speech at a protest staged by scribes against an attack by 3 unknown persons on journalist and YouTuber Asad Ali Tur in Islamabad. The military has ruled Pakistan for nearly half its 70-plus years of existence and has hitherto wielded considerable power in the matters of security and foreign policy. However, it has denied interfering in politics.
In news from Afghanistan, after talks were largely stalled between Afghan government and the Taliban negotiators earlier this year, the two warring sides met this week in Qatar's capital Doha to discuss the peace process. According to Taliban spokesman Suhail Shaheen, they discussed topics of the agenda accelerating the Afghan negotiations process and reaching mutual understanding in this regard.
Afghan government and Taliban negotiators met in Qatar's capital Doha this week to discuss the peace process, the first known meeting in weeks after negotiations largely stalled earlier this year. Taliban spokesman Suhail Shaheen said in a statement on Twitter on Wednesday that the heads of both teams, along with some of their negotiators, had met the previous day in Doha. They discussed topics of the agenda, accelerating the Afghan negotiations process and reaching mutual understanding in this regard, he said. The meeting was the first announced gathering of both sides since mid-May, And after already slowing talks largely broke off in April when the United States announced it would withdraw its forces by September 11. Violence has sharply increased across Afghanistan since the United States announced its plans. In the latest, at least 10 deminers from the Halo Trust organization were killed and several wounded in an attack by gunmen on their office in the northern province of Baghlan on Tuesday night. The Taliban denied involvement in the attack. After decades of conflict, Afghanistan is strewn with mines and unexploded ordnance, and agencies have been working to clear them in the years since Taliban were ousted in 2001. The Taliban are fighting government troops in 26 out of 34 provinces, and the insurgents have recently captured more than 10 districts, government officials say.
Moving on to news from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, which is in the grip of a third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, is facing a huge surge in infections, with overall cases tally surging past 213,390. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has instructed the retired nursing staff to be recruited to combat the crisis.
As Sri Lanka is in grip of a third wave of the COVID-19 pandemic, the total coronavirus cases have surged to 213,396, with 2,682 fresh infections and 31,059 people being treated in the hospitals, while 180,427 patients have fully recovered and been discharged from hospitals. Authorities last Wednesday extended an ongoing nationwide lockdown till June 14 in a bid to stop the rapid spread of the virus. During the restrictions, only essential services and food suppliers are allowed to be on the roads, while all others have been urged to stay at home. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa on Wednesday advised Health Minister Pavitra Vaniyarachchi to recruit retired nursing staff as needed on contract basis for service once again to face the challenges posed by hospitals due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, Sri Lanka has requested Japan to provide 600,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine as the country is working to vaccinate the entire population against COVID-19 by early 2022.
Amid the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, 2 women in India's western city of Ahmedabad are conducting offline classes for children from economically weak backgrounds with no access to the internet. Children attending the outdoor classes say this is the only way they can stay abreast of their studies. 2 women in the western Indian city of Ahmedabad have taken on the task of teaching children from underprivileged backgrounds with no access to online learning, hoping to prevent them from falling off the education radar. While the lockdown has been eased in the recent weeks, schools are unlikely to reopen anytime soon, as experts warn the peak of the virus in India could still be months away. Teachers like Neetu Gupta and Deepti Ravindrabai Chauhan conduct their classes on the Sabarmati river front, famous for being home to India's freedom movement hero Mahatma Gandhi.
They don't have mobile phones or smartphones, or even though they have, they are not able to operate them properly. So that's why we have conducted these classes and give them a regular exercise so that they will be in touch with the studies they forgot.
Children attending the outdoor classes say this is the only way they can stay abreast of their studies during the pandemic. The government has pushed for the classes to move online, but in India, only 23.8% of households have access to the internet, according to a 2017-18 government report, and the many who do not have access to the required technology find themselves at the distinct disadvantage. Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/AsAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @AsAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.